Welcome to The Point, and I'm your host, Greg Lassiter. Today, we have an amazing guest. He's an educator, an author, a coach, a U.S. Air Force veteran, and a publisher. Mr. Marlon Dean, welcome, man. How are you?
I'm glad. Thank you, Dr. Lester. I'm glad to be here. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yes, good. I'm glad to have you. Marlon, how do you do it all? First of all, how do you do it all?
Um, Very scheduled. Like I said, I try to block out my days every day to kind of figure out what I'm going through from point to point. It helps me stay on track most of the time. So I'm very detailed and making sure that time counts for as much as possible. So a little bit at a time, but we'll make it through the day each day.
Okay, so Marlon, you are first. What are you first? Are you an educator first, author first? What are you first?
First, a man of God first. I'm a man of God first, right? Start there. Then I'm a husband, father, grandfather, and then my roles come into play. So I guess that would start with education, coaching, and then an author. So those are the lines that those fall in areas.
And you're a U.S. Air Force veteran.
Yes, sir. Retired in 2016.
Right. Okay. Before we start, I want to talk about the amazing books you've written. Now,
Yes,
Marlon
sir.
is, in my dossier, he's written 3 books on your 4th book. Your first book is So You Want to Be a Teacher, and So You Want to Be a Coach. Let's talk about So You Want to Be a Teacher.
Yes, sir.
How did that come about, and what was the most challenging part about that?
So that came about listening to the conversations that we have with teachers all the time. Being an educator, I was an instructor before I came in to teaching, so I had some background on teaching. But hearing that beginning teaching was a different beast, right? But I learned that teaching senior military members and then teaching kids are not too much different, right? So being able to have that classroom management, understand what's going on. The reason I wrote the book was based upon understanding what teachers were going through when it came to the burnout phase. Not enough teachers, I believe, have the experience or the tools that are needed to succeed early on. So teachers face burnout, and that is the same burnout that a first-year teacher faces and a 30-year veteran teacher faces.
Wow.
And nobody was really writing about that part from what I saw. Now we write about the burnout, we hear about the burnout, but to understand what do we have in place and how things look each day gave me the opportunity to put things that I view from my perspective, because I wrote it from a perspective of being in that seat from year one to right where I am right now and understanding what those day-to-day operations felt like. So I wanted to make sure that I gave it from a different perspective and not what everybody just deals with the burnout and not how to deal with it every day.
Right. So to me, teachers are the most underrated, underpaid, stressed out individuals. Me being an ex-pilot, I wouldn't have your job, because
Understand?
what is the most challenging part about, and you teach high school, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
That has to be challenging. What is, in your opinion, what is the most challenging part about that?
I think the most challenging part about teaching right now is not the relationship with the kids, but it more or less has to be with everybody understanding what goes on in the day to day. So the teaching part is easy, right? The teaching part I feel is what we're called to do each and every day.
Right.
I think the most difficult part is understanding the different levels that we're expected to teach at, the time constraints that we're called to teach in, and then the things that we're called to do outside of the teaching realm. You got to deal with parents, you got to deal with administration, you have to deal with the different levels that your kids are at. And what I mean by that is, um, in the classifications, you have, I call it tiers. So you have a tier 1 kid, right, who may be an Excel learner, and that kid may come in and get it immediately. So you have a tier 2 student who may come in and they may struggle a little bit, but if you give it to them and where they can understand it, they have no problems whatsoever. And then you have a tier 3 kid who may not be an accelerated learner, and they may take some more time. It may take some different skills. It may take some different tools that are needed to get to that kid. But the thing is, in teaching, you have to reach all 3 of them in the same class period in the same day, right? So you have to understand after a while when you're teaching, where your kids are. And it's bad to say that you have to classify them, but you do. You have to say, cool, well, these kids are going to learn pretty fast, and I need to be able to reach them immediately so that you don't lose concentration, because the biggest problems you get in school when kids get bored. When kids get bored, they begin to do other stuff, right? So you have to keep
Right.
their attention the whole time. So
I
understand,
don't mind.
correct. So you have to keep their attention, all three levels, attention at the same time while you're going through your day. And I think
So,
that's the biggest difficulty that we have
so
right now.
I know you're pretty successful at it because I watch you. I watch you. That's how, guys, that's how I found out about Marlon. I follow him on TikTok, and he's amazing. But when you're dealing on three different tier levels,
Mhm.
and you got the fast, the medium, and the slower,
Correct.
how do you keep the people that are fast
Mhm.
from being bored with
Right.
the medium and the lower kids? How do you
Right.
keep them? How do you keep them entertained or
Right. It's
occupied?
right. It's like a I treat it like a job, right? So if you had a job and you have a guy who's a great worker, right? When you get a person who's not a great worker, what do? You put them
Right.
together. You kind of link them up to say, okay, cool. You may have you get through a little bit faster, but let me let you use your skill set to help someone else, right? And it
Right.
also builds community at the same time. So when you get an accelerated learner that may be working with a slower learner, it kind of bridges that gap, and it helps them see that everybody doesn't learn like you, but at the same time, it gives them a chance to build a relationship and help somebody along the way, right? And that's called servancy. That's things that people that don't really talk about anymore, but it's a slow way to put them in positions to be helpers, to
Right.
assist someone else, right?
Right.
So when their creative minds are done, now I can find a different way to help another student, and it gives them a sense of self-worth at the same time. And
Oh, wow.
I try to utilize that as much as I can in my classrooms.
So, but then you have children. You have, of course, every child is not the same. Some have
Mhm.
harder situations at home. How do
Mhm.
you keep the personal out of it? Because
Mhm.
you're surrounded by a group of individuals. Some kids got it, some kids don't.
Correct.
How do you deal with that?
So it's about building relationships. I ran into situations to where, so we have evaluations in teaching. So a teacher may come in, an administrator may come in, and they're going to evaluate what you're doing in your classroom. How's your classroom management? How are you presenting your lessons, and how are you reaching your kids and keeping their attention during this time frame?
Mhm.
And there was a point in time to where I had a young lady who was in my class, and she was parents were there but not there.
Right.
So she had a couple of younger siblings, and she had a job as well, right? So she would leave school, go to work, go home, help her siblings with homework, get dinner prepared for them, get them in bed, right? And that's what she would be doing. So one particular day she came in and her head was down, and she was like, "Coach, I'm tired. I had a long night at work, and I had to deal with my brothers and sisters, and I'm really tired." So I said, "Hey, I understand what you're doing. Thank you for telling me." So she put her head down for a little bit. Well, that day I had an evaluation. So the evaluator came in, and at the end of my evaluation, they said, "Well, Coach, you had a young lady that had her head down a week. That's kind of unacceptable." And I said, "Nah, not when you know a situation. When you understand what she's going through every day and how she's dealing with that situation, then you can pretty much put in the gist that she's going to get her work done. It's just not a good day for her today. And
Right.
as long as you can understand and build a relationship, kids will talk to you, they'll tell you what's going on, they'll be open with you, but you have
Right.
to have that rapport to get from point A to point B."
So, but when you're being evaluated by an administrator,
Mhm.
are they receptive to that kind of thing, or do they look down on it? Because you see,
Yeah,
what you're doing is most administrators about not really about getting the education. It's about having a standard, but you're
correct,
building these relationships that
correct,
can make these people better in life and go on and do great things.
correct.
How does the administrator, when you explain that to them, how is that received?
Some are receptive and some are not. But I also put it into a way to where all administrators, like you were in this seat at some point in time. You were a
Mhm.
teacher. You didn't go straight from college to being an
Right,
administrator.
right,
You were in the classroom in the same seat dealing with the same things. So some try to look past that, but most understand, like, yeah, coach, I was there. I understand what's going on. But it looks, I know how it looks. And I said, yeah, but at the same time, it's the reality of what's going on. You can't deny the reality.
right,
And once you give them your perception, whether they accept or not, I gave you the truth.
right.
And most of them are not too bad about it. Now, will I get dinged on it? Of course, but I can deal with that.
Right. So, what about the disciplinary, the problem child?
Mhm.
How do you deal with the problems? Because every class has a
Correct.
problem, one or two
Correct.
kids. How do you
Correct.
deal with that? Because when we grew up, I'm a lot older than you, but when I grew up, you got you got hit with the ruler.
You got
Now
paddled, yeah.
now you can get a charge for that.
Of
How
course.
does modern day teachers deal with that to discipline?
I'm gonna knock on wood and say that I have been blessed enough to say that I haven't really dealt with those yet,
Oh,
because of the relationships, right? And to me, my goal is to meet kids where they are. Every kid is different. Every kid is going to um, struggle in some form. But you also want to build to where they excel at some form. And what I try to do is maintain the best classroom environment as possible. Now, does my classroom look a little different than everybody else's? Yeah, it does. It
how
mainly
so?
so I believe in a lot of group activities. I believe in kids understanding that the teamwork aspect builds to the next levels because, as we know, once you become adults, the key words are your network is
Right.
your net
Correct.
worth, right?
Right.
So they understand that I may be here right now, but as long as I have this group of people that I can relate to at some point in time, we're good. So I do a lot of group activities. I do a lot of things that make kids that keeps them busy.
Right.
So there are a lot of conversations when you walk in the door. There are a lot of questions going on when you walk in the door. But I understand what every part of that classroom looks like. So the time that we have those kids, and I hate to say it, those problem kids are mostly in my class because they say, "Hey, coach, you have good management skills. This kid is
Right.
going knucklehead. Send him to
Right.
you." And what makes him a knucklehead? Like, let's answer that question. What
Right.
is not going on? Like you said earlier, what's going on at home that makes him like this? Is he
Right.
coming to school because he had 8 in 2 days or had 8 since the last time he was at school? What's
Wow.
happening? So there are
Right.
things you have to see internally before you can judge a kid by what they're actually doing because everything they're doing is because of something else. So let's find out
Right.
what's
What about parents? When it comes to parents, and that right there, you're dealing with how many kids? 20, 20, 21, 22
yeah,
kids?
2025,
Okay.
yeah,
So
sometimes
you're
30.
dealing with the what? 40 parents. How does
Yeah.
that, and you got to talk to them individually and not
Mhm.
as a group. And some
Correct.
are receptive. What would you say the percentage of them receptive of, okay, your kid, Mr. Such and such, Mrs. Such and such, your kid is not moving at the pace that
Correct.
he should be moving at or she should be moving at. And you recommend something. What are the parents like? I'm sure you have parents out there that go, no, that's not right.
Correct.
How do you deal with that?
Correct. The numbers don't lie, right? So if I'm giving you a call about your kid and their academic progression, then I can sit down and show you where they're not progressing or where what they're not doing.
Right.
So I want to make sure that each kid has a chance to succeed. So if I'm calling a parent, it is a last ditch resort. The most problems I have with parents are parents calling saying, it is the last week of the 9 weeks, and that parent is saying, well, why does my son have an F? Well, I've called you 2 or 3 times
Several times.
already. We've had
Right.
these conversations, right? I've sent emails home already, and
Right.
now it's about to close out, and you want to respond. And I think that's where the parents are the most have the biggest issues. Like
Right.
I want to wait. It's not on your time; it's on my time. But then
Right.
when it's out of
What
my
is,
hand, in my hands.
you're in the South, you're in North Carolina, correct?
Yes, sir.
What is the makeup I'm just kind of curious in your school,
Mhm.
what's the makeup, the demographics?
So we're about I want to say about I'm gonna say about 40, 40, 40, 35, 25. So I'll say about 40 white, 35 black, and about 25% of Hispanic and Latino.
So it's pretty even, pretty
Yes, sir.
much.
Not bad.
Um, what about medium income?
So we're not a Title I school yet, but we do have a lot of kids that are on free and reduced meals. So I think
Really?
that makeup is maybe about 40, 45%.
And this is public school, right?
This is public school, yes, sir. Now
Wow.
I've taught at Title I schools to where we're in there, right?
Really?
Oh yeah, and it's a difference. It's a difference in your teaching levels and understanding. It's really understanding about the environment. Like we're in Jacksonville. When I taught in Jacksonville, Florida, it was the same way.
Right.
Like you have to understand the demographic of your kids and what's going on. I've
Yeah.
taught here in North Carolina at a
Right.
middle school. That's why I cut my teeth at a middle school, right? So
Right.
it was a Title I, and we had to understand, like, look, you got to wait to probably about 8:30 for these kids get started. They got to get something in them, and they got to get ready to go. So
So
understanding we.
so now that you're the teacher, you're dealing with this all day. Now, after school,
Mhm.
you're the football coach.
Yes, sir.
Now, Now, when we grew up, Marlon, we had to have a certain grade point average to play
Correct.
on the football team. We had to
Correct.
have a C average. Is that still the same?
Still the same.
Two, do you have, like, the kids on the football team? Was it division? Was it AAA?
What do you mean?
What division is your school? I
So
don't know.
we're
That's
5A
high
school. Yeah,
What
we're
is it?
5A school. We're 5A. Mhm.
5A. So those kids, you always have those kids on the football team. Do you have any problem children on the football team because of football, but not a problem in the classroom?
Most of your football players are not a problem in the classroom until after the season's over, right? That's when so because during football season they want to be on the field, so you're not going to have those problems.
Right.
Now you have a one or two that slide in there try to test the waters and see what's going on, but for the most part, the kids on the football team are leaders in the school, and they do their best to set that example. But yeah, we have that GPA requirement. They have to meet that every year. The freshmen walk in the door, the freshmen get a pass because they're leaving middle school, coming to high school, so they're all eligible their first semester. And we have a couple of kids that struggle the first semester that struggle with coming from middle school to high school, not being able to. And then some of them are not eligible the second semester, but they go to summer school and get it right because they understand what high school looks like. But for the most part, our high school kids, our sophomores, juniors, and seniors do a pretty good job of staying on track.
Now, your curriculum, see, school has changed so much over the years. Your curriculum, when you want to play football, is there still a tryout?
Oh yes. Well, I can't say it's no. It's not a tryout.
So wait. Please, Marlon, make this make sense, because you know, and I know, we had to try out. If you did not make it, maybe next year, son. Remember,
so football it was like that for high school for basketball, because basketball has only but so many suits, right? You might have 13, 15 to a roster. After that 15, you're done. And football, it's a bit different because I have not been to a place yet to where we had so many kids where kids had to get cut in high school football. Right. And a lot of schools now are pay to play. So literally you're paying a fee to play in high school because of the surrounding areas and what's going on in different locations. So it's hard to cut a kid these days.
But where does the competition of being good enough come in? How do you teach that? And you came up like I did, right? Where you had to try out. Doesn't matter. There's no participation trophies.
Correct.
Either try again next year, son. Good luck. Where does the competition, how do you build competition in the individuals or the team to think that, because it's almost entitlement.
Correct.
It's almost entitlement. How do you separate, how do you go to your students and say, or how do you go to your players and go, okay, just because you didn't have to try out, how do you tell them, okay, this is not real life?
Correct.
How do you deal with that?
So the competitive aspect comes in with the individual positions, right? So let's say, for example, I coach defensive backs right now, and I have 9, but only 4 can play at the same time. I can only put 4 on the field, so I got to take my top 4. So the competitiveness comes in at that point. Like, look, if you want to get on the field, you better bust your butt in practice every day. You better bust your butt in drills every day. So we have to make sure that we keep the competitive edge every day in practice to find out the best group of kids that we're putting out there on Friday night. So the competitiveness comes in practice each and every day.
But then the culture shock steps in when you go to college.
Oh yeah.
Because then you have to try out.
Yeah, the bottom of the totem pole. So you're starting over again. Right. And it's not really, believe it or not, it's not many colleges that cut kids anymore.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Man, am I that old?
Oh, but it's really colleges bring in because you look for practice squad players, you're looking for guys to come in and compete for those positions, because now you got a transfer portal, right? So you got kids leaving every year. So you want to begin developing kids. So if X kid leaves, you got Y that's ready to go the next year, because these kids now are hopping back and forth so fast that it's hard to maintain stability in sports these days.
And when you go to college, again, when we were in college, you couldn't work.
Mhm.
You couldn't have a job.
Correct.
You couldn't get, now these kids are getting paid for
Mhm.
their image. Like,
Correct.
how does that help, in your opinion? Does that help or hurt a kid in the real world?
In the real world, I think NIL, when it first got started, the ideology of it was good. Um, I'm gonna give a kid, if I'm at, for John Manziel, I'm at Texas A&M, and my jersey is selling off the rack, and the only reason people are buying number 2 is because I'm wearing it every Saturday.
Right.
I think at that point in time, the name, image, and likeness, for a player to get paid for the sales being produced off what he wears every Saturday, yeah, he deserves a cut.
Right. Do you
Um,
find it, in your opinion, are you for that or against that?
I'm for kids being able to set themselves up for success,
Right.
but I'm also with them being able to understand what that money is going to look like, right?
Right.
You hear people in the NFL, grown men that are broke after 4 years,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So imagine giving a kid in college $1 million with no financial background.
Right.
They're not set up for success at
So
all.
yeah,
So
because by that, and not to cut you off, but with that, you're setting, these kids are getting set up for failure.
correct.
And in your opinion, is it more, do you see that more in children of color, or um or is it just general all the way around?
I think it's general. I think anytime you give a kid $1 million as an 18-year-old and say, go out there and be great, like,
Right.
what do you expect that kid to do? You know,
Go crazy.
he's gonna be off the chain, right? So my thing is, until these kids are able to go through it should be a prerequisite of financial management classes they have to go through to prepare for that, right?
Right.
But now NIL has been, and you can get an NIL deal in high school now. You can
That's
get
what you teach, though, right? You teach business.
I teach business, right,
Right.
right. And I think at some point in time I'm going to transfer over to sports management to be able to dibble and dabble into that a little bit more. But I think kids have to be aware, and believe it or not, it's not only the kids. I think the parents need these classes as well. They
Oh,
have to be.
absolutely.
I think the parents
Absolutely.
have to go through, because as their custodians, they have to make sure that where this money is going.
Where the money's going, and being accountable.
Correct, correct. So if mommy or daddy is saying, "All right, cool, you got $1 million, and because I'm your mama, you owe me 300,000," okay, now we talking. Now we got a problem,
Now
right?
we got a
So
problem.
now,
Right. Right. Right.
correct. So that's where the division of money comes in it,
Right.
because these
Because
kids are
when we're
serious.
growing up, our parents is like, you know what? I had you. That belongs to me.
Right. Right. And there are some people, some families, there are more families than not that have those stories of success because those parents handle the finances correctly.
Right.
We hear more about the bad stories than
Right.
the good.
Right.
But I do believe there are kids that need to have these financial management classes. They need to understand what generational wealth looks like. They need
Right.
to understand what investing looks
Right.
like, so they can make wise decisions with their money.
Now, Marlon, with all that said,
Mhm.
I have to say you're pretty remarkable, because you go to your day consists of family.
Correct.
Then you go to teach.
Correct.
Then you go to coaching.
Correct.
How do you keep a balance and keep everybody happy, including yourself?
Time. You have to take out the time. So I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning. I'm in the gym. Like, that's my me
7
time.
days a week?
5, 6,
6?
6.
Okay.
All right. So I'm in there Monday through Sunday. Monday through Saturday. I'm sorry. Sunday's my down day. I don't do anything on Sunday. I do my best to try and just relax on Sundays. And that's my time to go in, get myself prepared, and then I come home and I take my quiet time with God. So it's me, and I'm doing my individual studies to make sure spiritually I'm good
Right.
before I go out into the world. And then when I get home, I understand that when I walk in the door, I'm daddy. I'm a husband. I have to leave everything else, the whistle, the kids that I've been dealing with, I have to leave that at the door, because when I walk in the door, that requirement now is, that's my focus. Because a lot of times, and I wrote about this in So You Want to Be a Coach, we forget how to leave the whistle at the door.
Right.
So we'll
Right.
come in the door and we're present, but we're not present. So
Right.
it is a skill to understand that you have to create boundaries early. You
Right.
have to understand that I can't come in the door and take a parent phone call at 7:30,
Right.
another coach call at 8:30.
Right.
Oh, now I got to get a schedule ready for 9:30. Your family doesn't understand that. What they understand is that you're here, but you're not
Right.
here. So
Right.
you have to create a healthy balance. But you have to schedule those things out to understand what that looks like every day.
But do you ever get tired?
Of course, of course.
Because
And it took
hey,
it
Marlon,
took
every time I see
yeah,
you every day
right.
virtually, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people say that, right? But it takes that is a great question because believe it or not, not enough men or women that are coaches or that are in this field ask that question. Are you tired? Are you okay? How are you doing?
right, right,
Everybody expects you to be okay, right? And the disservice we do ourselves is by saying, I'm fine,
right.
I'm good.
And when we're
When
really
we're not.
not,
Right. And
right?
we're not, right? It's okay to
Especially,
be
especially as black men. I want
correct,
speaking as black men,
correct,
everybody
correct,
expects us to be fine.
correct.
And and
But
and 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 not a lot of people turn out like you, like me, not
mhm,
angry,
correct.
you know?
But
Um,
you have to be okay with saying, I'm tired. I'm not
right,
good. Um, and people, whether they understand or not, that's how you're feeling what you're going through.
right.
And once again, I think the biggest thing is as a coach and as a parent is understand that you have to create healthy boundaries to maintain some level of sanity during this job.
What do you do for fun, Marlon?
Oh, music. I listen to music.
Music.
Oh yeah. I have transitioned into I'm listening to some jazz now. So I put up some jazz and go out and go in the back and just sit and just be still.
Right.
Right. And understanding that sitting down and being still is not a bad thing. It's not a punishment. I used to put myself in an internal turmoil by thinking I'm not doing something, or by
Right.
sitting down and resting. And I had to realize that resting is okay. You need to do those things every single day.
Right. So let me ask you this.
Mhm.
What would you tell your younger 18 self?
Oh man. Oh, 18-year-old self. What would I tell me? Be patient. Be patient. Um, you don't have to rush life. It's gonna come to you.
Right.
And enjoy the process. I understand that will we'll look so much at the past or look so much to the future that we don't take the time out to enjoy the day. We
Right.
don't take the time out to take today in. We don't
Okay.
take the time out to understand what the moment looks like. And I would tell
Right.
my younger self, slow down, understand
Okay.
it'll be okay.
Okay.
Just take time and breathe.
So let me ask you, Martin, how do we get your book? Can you tell people how to get your book?
Oh yeah. You can go to my website, whitehousepublishing.com.
Right.
And all of my books and ebooks are there. And you can also get it on Amazon.com.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Now, guys, I wanted, Marlon, it took us a minute to get here, but we got
It
here.
did. Yeah.
We got here. I want to thank you so much, guys.
Mhm.
This guy, I'm telling you guys, you need to follow him. Tell him how to get you on TikTok. I
You can
mean,
get me on
TikTok, social media.
right. My handles are all the same at Coach White's Life on TikTok, Instagram, and on Facebook.
Marlon, you are awesome, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Any last inspirational words you can give to everybody?
Yeah, enjoy the process. And I know it's cliche, but enjoy the process. No matter what you're going through or what you're doing, take the time out and enjoy it and take it all in because you won't get a second chance to do it all over again.
Marlon, man, I want to thank you so much, guys. You heard it here, Marlon Dean. Guys, I want to leave you with this. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're still among the stars. I'll see you next week here at To The Point. Peace. We're out.